So just driving home, thought I'd stop off in Bishop Auckland. It's got quite an impressive square, quite attractive, some nice buildings around here. This is the Auckland Tower. I think you must have to pay to go up it, and not really sure what you can see from the top. So it says it's free, but unfortunately I'm 15 minutes too late, it's closed. Bishop Auckland was the home for many centuries to the Bishops of Durham. Now I don't know if the Bishop of Durham still lives here. We'll have a wander and see what we can see of the castle. So this is the rather impressive walled garden. Now I know you can visit Auckland Castle, but I suspect it's now closed. But it looks like you can walk through here. That is the old private chapel, and apparently it's the largest, one of the largest private chapels in Europe, I believe. Now the Bishops of Durham are not the only bishops to have lived or formerly lived in castles. The Bishop of Carlisle, until fairly recently, used to live in Rose Castle. The Bishop of Bath and Wells does have a flat in Wells Palace, and the Archbishop of Canterbury lives in Lambeth Palace. But most of these old ancient properties have now been sold because they're too big and too expensive to maintain, so most bishops now live in very modest or relatively modest accommodation. So, despite the fact that the castle's closed, you seem to be able to walk through the grounds, which is rather lovely. The Bishops of Durham historically used to wield a great deal of power. We're talking about many, many centuries ago, and they were known as Prince Bishops. I think they could control their own private armies, and Auckland Castle, or Bishop Auckland Castle, obviously is an indication of the power that they once had. No one else is walking around here at the moment, it's just me. So I have this slight worry, what if they close the gates and I get locked in here? I'm sure I'd find a way out, but I'll make my way back to the front of the castle. Some grey squirrels ahead of me. Rats with tails, in my opinion, should be got rid of. Sadly, replacing our native red squirrels, which are wonderful, really are beautiful. Look at that. Quite an impressive place to live. And pleasant views over the valley down to the river. So there we have it, Bishop Auckland Castle. I have a feeling that it's no longer occupied by the bishop. Instead, I think it's been taken over by some sort of charity or trust, but don't take my word for it. I'm sure there's information online. So even if the bishop doesn't live here, he still clearly has an office here. So I've just been doing what I suggested others do and had a quick look online. And the Bishop of Durham still lives in Bishop Auckland, but he doesn't live in the castle as I suspected. He now lives in a house somewhere in town, but he still maintains offices in the castle. So lovely walks around the castle here. Into the deer park. "150 acres of historic parkland, created over 800 years. So there are no more deer in this deer park, but some interesting structures like this building here, which I have no idea what that might be, but I'll go and have a look. So this apparently was a deer house, and it was built in the 18th century by the then Bishop of Durham, apparently called Trevor. Doesn't sound like a particularly bishop sounding name, but there you go, Bishop Trevor. And he built it as a shelter for the deer. What a lovely building. Lucky deer. Some rather ancient and impressive looking trees here in this park. I've always been curious as to what Bishop Auckland was like, and I must admit it's a very pleasant town. Well, certainly the centre is, and this park, so definitely worth a visit. It's rather lovely. So they've locked the gates, so it's a good job that I left when I did. And I'm just going to show you this rather striking building in front of me. It's very modern, and apparently it's a faith museum, a museum that talks about how faith has shaped our society. But the building itself is really striking. I might be in County Durham, but Bishop Auckland has a Spanish gallery. Interesting. And even the Sports Direct building is rather impressive. Certainly the top half. Shame they couldn't do more of the bottom half to sort of help it merge into its surroundings a bit better, but there we go. Just walking along here, you can see that a lot of Bishop Auckland has fallen on hard times. A lot of empty shop units, boarded up. It's always interesting to see what it costs to buy a property in this area. You can pick up fairly substantial properties from about 125,000, but there's a bargain here. 2 bedrooms, 2 reception, 35,000. So although the high street is suffering here, it's good to see that they're trying to bring some investment back into Bishop Auckland. Renovate some of these empty units. So there we are, my brief tour of Bishop Auckland. Clearly got some really nice spots, especially around the market square and the castle, but just go into the main sort of shopping street. Even here, like the castle bar, all closed up, boarded up, and unfortunately this is true of so many places in the UK at the moment. The high street is really struggling. Lots of empty shops, hotels, businesses, and Bishop Auckland has clearly obviously hit upon some hard times, but it's good to see that there is some investment. In fact, you've just got it here. Don't know if you can read that. It says the Auckland Project, where they're trying to invest money into Auckland and renovate the town. And clearly there have been developments and changes here, which is good to see. But like lots of places, particularly in the north, it's clearly struggling, but still worth a visit.